knowledge with click. 10 famously hardcore female spies. Spies, secret agents, experts of espionage. These exciting and elusive characters have been sparking intrigue in the hearts of us average citizens since James Bond appeared on the big screen in a cloud of mystery and a jet-black tuxedo. Stories of heroic feats accomplished by these agents of intelligence spread like wildfire, and nothing excites us more than a dangerous mission or a daring escape, unfortunately. Modern spy mania has been focused primarily on the furtive actions of male spies, leaving some incredibly fierce female spies high and dry. Well, it's time for these hardcore women to enter the spotlight. Here are 10 of the most notorious female spies in history. Number 10. Belle Boyd. Southern Belle Boyd would not have viewed herself as a government operative. Be that as it may, she was fundamental to a considerable lot of the South's triumphs during the U.S. Civil War. She assembled data about Union powers through undercover methods and gave it to help the Confederacy. It was 1861, and the war was simply starting. At that point, Boyd was an occupant of Martinsburg, Virginia. She was anxious to join the endeavors of the South against the North, so she engaged with the Confederacy's raising support endeavors. Nonetheless, she realized that she could accomplish more. At the point when Union officers involved her town in 1861, she saw her chance. Boyd exploited her status and conversational capacities to turn out to be near a portion of the Union fighters. Secretively, she accumulated as much data as possible while keeping up her apparently guiltless persona. She would then hand off this data to Confederate officials, regardless of whether it implied sneaking through adversary lines, to disclose to General Stonewall Jackson about the Resistance's arrangement to copy the town's bridges. However, recon isn't all that Belle was celebrated for. At some point, during the Union control of Martinsburg, a Union officer endeavored to raise a banner over the home of Boyd and her mom. After Boyd denied the men admittance to her home, one raucous trooper endeavored to constrain his way into the habitation. He didn't make it far. Beauty pulled out a firearm and fired the man dead. Quite in your face, correct? Number 09. Melita Norwood. Melita Norwood was sweet and apparently harmless. A secretary at the British Non-Ferrous Metals Research Association, otherwise known as the BNF, during the 1930s, she was liable for things. For example, coordinating arrangements and taking care of records. Nothing too serious, wondering where the covert operative part comes in. Here it is. The BNF was really a cover association for the Tube Alloys venture, Britain's atomic weapons program. In spite of the fact that she lived and worked in Britain, Norwood was a Russian on a basic level, relating to the communist belief systems of the Soviet government. This thoughtful disposition in the end got her associated with the KGB. Whenever they allowed her a chance to take care of them, she accepted, acting under the code name Ola. Norwood was coordinated to stay the BNF offices subsequent to shutting and secretly eliminate records from the safes. She would then duplicate these records and offer them to KGB controllers at her home, obscure to her better half. Quite a bit of this data was utilized to propel Russian atomic technology, too, following the revelation of her surveillance endeavors years after the fact. Norwood was approached to uncover the characters of her Russian associates. She won't, asserting cognitive decline as the explanation that she was unable to review any of their names. Number 08. Christine Granville. Christine Granville was a lovely lady turned spy. Before her inclusion in World War II, she was a model. Toward the beginning of the war, Granville turned into a courier in Nazi-involved nations in Europe. Her employment was to help messages through Poland, conveying them to different Allied powers without detection. This ended up being a hazardous obligation. Granville got acclaimed for safeguarding officers from execution, getting away from gunfire, dropping sewing blades into the stitches of her skirts, creating elaborate stories to escape difficult situations, and beguiling watchmen and gatekeeper canines the same. One story recounts how she got away from Nazi police powers by keeping quiet and imagining she was kicking the bucket of tuberculosis. Granville additionally utilized her magnificence as a resource, planting different darlings all through her protracted vocation in undercover work. She immediately found the eyes of Winston Churchill, who might later make her an individual from his own secret activities unit under the code name Willing, and allude to Granville's attractive and energizing personality. It is even reputed that Granville was the motivation behind the female lead in the James Bond epic Casino Royale. Oh, Christine was killed by an insane ex-sweetheart in London close to the furthest limit of her vocation. Number 07. Nur Inayat Khan. The primary female radio administrator and the main British Indian government operative. Indeed, you read that right. Nur Inayat Khan was a pivotal lady. She was employed by the Thrive opposition development in Paris during World War II under the code name Madeleine. The development's chiefs at first addressed whether Khan was equipped for taking care of business. However, their feelings of dread were immediately alleviated. While numerous different individuals from the obstruction were captured, Khan evaded catch over and over, every now and again moving and staying in steady correspondence with London. Unfortunately, Khan's long and fruitful profession as a government agent finished when she was uncovered by a nearby Frenchwoman who found her character. Khan was immediately captured by the Gestapo, who utilized her own records of mystery signals and codes to fool London into sending new specialists. The Gestapo at that point caught these specialists as well, for, after an endeavored escape, Khan was put in isolation and tormented for data. Notwithstanding, she would not uncover anything, in the long run kicking the bucket on account of the Nazi police. What a lady. Number 06. Mata Hari. Mata Hari was a government operative camouflaged as an extraordinary Asian artist. Cool, right? She was well known for visiting Europe, playing out a progression of strip shows in which she would make up expound tales about her childhood. To certain crowds, she was brought into the world in a consecrated Indian sanctuary. To other people, she was instructed to move by Indian priestesses. Mata Hari's tempting nature and uproarious character gave her the ideal cover for surveillance. Consequently, at the episode of World War I, she turned into a courier and messenger for the Allies' opposition. Mata Hari was acclaimed for making sweethearts out of high-positioning military authorities from various nations, purportedly persuading them to uncover insights concerning weapons and strikes. She would hand off these subtleties to the resistance, bringing about the passings of thousands of individuals. Notwithstanding, a few people have guessed in the 21st century that her adequacy as a covert agent was exaggerated. Or on the other hand, that she might not have been a government operative at all. During her lifetime, Mata Hari was likewise associated with being a twofold specialist. In any case, before her status could be uncovered, she was found by the Allies and condemned to death. She was slaughtered by a French terminating crew outside Paris in 1917, a sensational finish to an emotional profession. Number 05. Virginia Hall. Virginia Hall, an American covert agent with the British Special Operations Executive, was astonishingly extreme. She likewise worked for the American Office of Strategic Services during World War II and later for the CIA. While on a chasing trip in Turkey, Hall lost her leg to a firearm mishap. After her leg was cut away, she named its wooden substitution Cuthbert. Throughout her profession, she drove organizations of specialists in different undertakings, protected detainees of war, and enrolled several covert agents to neutralize the Nazis, who alluded to her as the limping woman, utilizing her mind to stay one stride in front of the Nazis consistently. Hall filled in as a maddening detour to huge numbers of their operations. 6. Hall turned into the lone non-military personnel lady to get the Distinguished Service Cross. Number 04. Nancy Wake. Nancy Wake was not your normal columnist. After an adolescence in destitution, generally in Australia, she functioned as a columnist and afterward rose to turn into an entertainer in high society France by wedding a well-off French industrialist. Wake saw the decimation and misuse brought about by the Nazis firsthand, and she ached to take care of it. She joined the French resistance toward the start of World War II, rapidly turning into a champion of the development. Her victories included setting up correspondence between the British military and the French resistance, sparing Allied lives by covertly accompanying them through France to Spain, and gathering and putting away weapons for the development of the Allies. She was regularly credited with executing German government agents, and it is even reputed that Wake once murdered a German warrior with exposed hands. These challenging accomplishments picked up her the moniker the White Mouse. For attempt as they may, the Nazis would never get their hands on her. Number 03. Anna Chapman. 3 words: crazy. Russian spy. Anna Chapman is one of the more acclaimed present-day spies some portion of a covert operative ring gave to Russia. She went through years in the United States while endeavoring to gather data of any sort that may be valuable to the Russian government. She was famously blamed for endeavoring to allure NSA informant Edward Snowden with an end goal to save him in Russia for addressing. Chapman planned to wed him, lock him in Russia, and grab American insider facts from his cerebrum. Extraordinary, right? But get this, Chapman was additionally a renowned model. She would regularly utilize her status to learn undercover data and access government-privileged insights. She was at long last captured in New York City in 2010. 8. A model who is likewise a government agent. A covert agent who is additionally a model. Appears genuine. Number 02. Josephine Baker. Josephine Baker is only straight-up cool. Generally acclaimed for being both an artist and an artist, she turned out to be fiercely mainstream during the 1920s. Pastry specialist, was into everything extraordinary, performing melodies, moves, and even comedic dramas, wearing only a plume skirt. As you would expect, she immediately got one of Europe's generally well-known and generously compensated entertainers, in the long run in any event going on Broadway. However, the vast majority don't realize that Baker was likewise a spy. 9. She worked for the French resistance during World War II, sneaking messages by concealing them in her sheet music and at times even in her clothing. For her work, Baker got French military distinctions. Number 01. Ana Montes. Ana Montes, a renowned covert agent for the Cuban government, started working for the U.S. with the Defense Intelligence Agency in 1985. She was frequently alluded to as a specialist on everything Cuba, as she transparently couldn't help contradicting U.S. international strategy. It was not some time before Cuban authorities contacted Montes and convinced her to accomplish some work for them. She was the ideal lady for the work. In addition to the fact that Montes had admittance to government mysteries, explicitly the Afghanistan attack, she likewise had a photographic memory. This made it simple for her to retain records and encoded documents and present them to her overseers later, when her associates developed dubious. Montes consented to take a polygraph test to demonstrate her loyalty to the U.S. She passed. She would continue turning out secretively for the Cuban government for a couple of more years until the FBI had the option to develop a considerable argument against her. In 2002, she conceded to spying and got a 25-year jail sentence. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this, please subscribe to watch more. SN Production.